Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sidney St. James Show today, So You Want to Be an Author. Today, I'm going to talk to you about you've written your first book. You listened to all the broadcasts, you've written your book, you've grammar checked it, you got it published. Okay, that's great. But this whole advent of the internet, everything about the internet right now, you get your first book done. I have a friend of mine, I think he lives up in Sheridan or near Sheridan, Arkansas. He put his book out there and he asked me a question in one of my chat screens, just like, how come I'm not selling many of my books? How come this or how come that? He is just one of hundreds upon hundreds of people who have, at the very beginning of writing your first novel, expectations. Expectations that are really high. Many of you write that book and you really feel good about it. And your family members have told you you've done a great job at writing the book. So you're expecting your first book to sell a bunch of copies, right? Well, what is your definition of a bunch of copies? Because the honest to goodness truth is, more than likely, as a first-time self-published author, you won't sell very many copies at all. Now, who will you hit up first? You're going to go hit up your friends, your family? I tell you for sure, don't do that, because to me, that's like spamming. I'll give you an example. I went out trying to do a different type of business, and I went out on Facebook. And all my friends and family out there, and I've got bunches, I don't know how many I've got, but I got a bunch of friends. And these are friends. They're not just fans that signed in on my other group channel under Sidney St. James. So I talk about something I was trying to sell. But I did it very nonchalant, right? I had so many questions. Why are you posting these pictures? Why are you posting those pictures? And it got to be where I, honest to goodness, felt like I was in one of the video games I play. I was spamming people. I felt so bad asking for people who are my friends to buy my book. It just doesn't work like that. So the first thing I want to tell you is, don't get your expectations up real high. There are so many places on the internet that will wave a bunch of cash money in front of you. I did this on an earlier broadcast, but I don't have any cash money to wave today, but they'll do that. Or they'll say, look at me. I sold 100,000 books. My very first one, and you can too. I'm telling you now, it's just smoke. It's not going to happen. So don't get your expectations up high. Now you write your second and your third book and make a series out of it. Now we can start talking about really starting to sell more of your books. The other thing is, I had talked about aggregators. And in my case, I use Draft to Digital. Now, Draft to Digital will send my book to all the different retail outlets all around the world. And let me point out one thing there when I said all around the world. It's important to notice that if you just go with selling your book right here in the United States of America, you're missing a lot of readers. It wasn't until I had my aggregator publish my book in the UK, in Turkey, in Italy, in Australia, in China, in Japan. They're all there. And there's so many English reading people in the world. So just be sure that's another big advantage of, don't expect that everybody in the United States is going to start buying your book. Make sure that your book is out there everywhere. Now, also, make sure that if your book's with Amazon, you're not anticipating that Amazon is going to help sell your book. You hear about algorithms. I used to be one of the first people that would help you get your brand or your site or your business in the top 10 of a search engine. In other words, if you Google Sidney St. James, the whole page would fill up with Sidney St. James. Nowadays, you do Sidney St. James, you get a rock and roll band from over in Ireland, and you get this over here, and you get somebody over in Germany. No telling where Sidney St. James will pop up at. That's because of algorithms. And algorithms, now this is kind of like a Heinz 57 broadcast today, because I'm talking about all the different expectations you might have. You don't just go out and publish your book and hope that all the retail outlets will go out and market your book for you. They will not do it. As a matter of fact, unless you have thousands of reviews and you call up your name or your book or your genre, it will never show up on the internet. You can hit page down, page down, page down, and never find your book. So don't expect the retailers to do any marketing to you. Now, here's another thing not to expect. Paying money and advertising. You get your first book published. I mean to say, there are so many people that will come out of the woodwork. And how they get your email address, I don't know. Or how they get your phone, I don't know. But they do. They want to take money. And some of them do a very good job at telling you, send my book. There's a company up in Canada. I needed more reviews. So I said, hey, can I put my books out with you? And they talk a good story. They'll say, we'll get you 100 reviews in the first 2 or 3 weeks. Doesn't work. Spend money, doesn't work. It's just so many folks out there. So be very careful where you pay money. Now, the other thing, Facebook, Amazon, and I'm talking from experience. I went out to Facebook on my first novel, and I spent a couple of $100, put it out there. And wow, my book spiked, and it went up maybe, I don't know, 100 books, and then it started coming down, all within the course of 3 to 4 days. Boop, boop. It was over with. Now, did I sell enough books to pay for those $200? The royalties and everything I got off of that? I doubt it very seriously. Now, I talked about this earlier. Posting on social media. I don't think that I posted on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Oh, I can't name them all right now, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work. What's the other thing not to be expected of? Don't set realistic goals in your book writing and publishing. For me, the first time I just wanted to pay my outgoing cost. In other words, how much did I spend? And then do all these different programs that they said would help you sell books, and you do those and you pay money. And don't expect that you're just going to make thousands of dollars, because you're not. It all comes with time. Next thing to do, be sure, once you get that first book published, to separate all your cost, all your money that you're making on your books, which is hopefully eventually will mount to something. Make sure that's separate of your personal bank account. Don't get it mixed and mingled in between. A lot of people just mix everything together to the end of the year, then you break it all out and say, this is how much I did on this. It's so much better to have a separate account. The other thing that I've done, and this is over time, before you hit that publish button, be sure that you double and triple check. I have put books out there that were the draft book and not my final edited book. And I did not know it once I hit published. What does that do? That gets people reading a book that you haven't done any editing on. I didn't know I put it out there. So all in all, don't get your expectations high. Number one priority, write because you like to write. And then as you continue to write and you have more books, then more people read your book and say, I like this author. And then they can go immediately to another book and immediately to a book thereafter. So don't be in a rush. Write your first book, get it self-published, and just be very careful of everybody that wants a piece of the action, because they will be there. Trust me, they'll be there. Keep doing lots of research, doing studies, watching my broadcast, watching other people's broadcast, but don't fall into the trap of working so hard to get your first book published, and so many people telling you, I can make you $100,000, or download this app and pay $50 a month, and we'll get your book sent out. But we'll send it out for free. Well, let me just comment on the free part. Free, not so bad. You've got to kind of suck it up a little bit here. On the free, what that does, a lot of people will pick out a free book and read it. And hopefully they'll leave a review. Not all do, but hopefully they do. And you get more reviews on that book. And that puts that book into a situation that will help you market other books. So sometimes, and you can even do this sometimes without even doing a marketing plan. You can join different groups that say, hey, here's my book, and I'm going to give it away for free, or you're going to give it away now. Some of these things just come to me. You're wanting them to pay you for a book, but how about you pay them to read your book? And what I mean by that is, offer them a couple of chapters in your book. Send them a couple of chapters for free. You might even send your electronic book in a PDF format for free for people who read your first book and leave a review. Then you will send your next book a PDF to get their honest to goodness feeling and review on that book. All these things about expectation are so, so important. So I'm going to end this broadcast today, but wow, I'm looking out my publishing room here where I'm doing this broadcast, and there's a woman walking down the sidewalk. 5, 6. She has 7 dogs on a leash. Wouldn't you say she's probably dog sitting? Whew. Well, that's something you could be doing if you don't publish your next book. Go walk some dogs. No, just kidding. It just caught my eye out there. But I want to tell you one more thing. When doing the broadcast, now you notice, I kind of left the house, went out in my back door, and I'm kind of sitting on the beach back here. It's really pleasant today. The sun is shining. The waves are coming up on the shore. And I'm doing this broadcast from in the middle of nowhere. And I'm loving it. But because I have found this magic called the green screen. Have you ever heard about a green screen? You watch a weather forecaster and they're talking about the weather and they point up like this. They're pointing at a screen. This all back here is all green in my recording office. Well, guess what that does if you forget about what kind of colors that you're wearing. And I'm sure as you watch this broadcast today, you'll notice that my free hugs, you can see right through it. Which reminds me, my next novel that I'm working on is another science fiction novel, The Invisible Man. That's right. So when you can see these coconut trees through my shirt, that's the magic of the green screen, but it also gave me an idea to how to make myself invisible and write my next novel. So until later, ladies and gentlemen, and all my friends out there, thanks for tuning in to my channel. Be sure to subscribe so you get a notice for the next channel. There's a little button down here at the bottom. Hit the little button, the little bell, you'll be notified. And the little heart. Let me know that you like my podcast. So until later, we'll see you around the corner. See you later, alligator.